Okay, today we are going to be working on Raceface Atlas pedals. So I had bought a pair at the end of last winter, and I installed them in the beginning of spring on this bike, which also had an older set of Atlas pedals. I just happened to get these on special because the new versions came out, so I just jumped on it. And I didn't notice until springtime when I put them on this bike that the non-drive side pedal rubs against the boot. Notice the drive side pedal, that one just spins, right? So this one here, I mean, I have to force it essentially. This is my third set of Raceface pedals, at least this generation pedal. I have the newer one on another bike. And I've never experienced this problem before, right? I've been dealing with it the whole summertime because I've been too lazy to actually, figure it out. And figuring out wintertime anyway, I'm going to be putting this bike away. Why not give it a shot and see what's causing that, right? At the same time, we will be servicing it. So there's definitely also bad bearing in this pedal for sure. I've narrowed it down. I have a clicking sound on when I torque down on the pedals on an uphill, only on an uphill. And you could feel it, the tick, tick, tick. I definitely narrowed it down. I took this pedal, put it on another bike, and experienced the exact same thing. Put the other pedals on this bike, and the problem never came about. So it's definitely the pedal, most likely the bearing, probably one of the smaller bearings. But I've had, like, for some reason with this set, I've had issues with these pedals. For instance, you have the cap over here, right? I don't know if you can see it well, but on the other pedal, that cap just fell out on its own. I've never been serviced before. Like I said, brand new pedals, installed them in the beginning of in the spring, called up Raceface, and this is some serious BS. I called up Raceface, emailed them, called them up, emailed them, went back and forth with at least 4 or 5 emails from that point on, and they were like, yep, we'll help you out, we'll take care of it, we'll take care of it, we'll take care of it, and yet they never did anything about it at the end. And again, I sent them videos, I sent them the receipt. It was like a legitimate purchase from an online store. The only thing is, too much time, our whole winter went by, so I couldn't do anything about it at the store. I had to get with Raceface. So this is definitely a defect. There's no questions asked. Now, I'm not sure if it's a manufacturing defect as far as the shell, or maybe it was just an assembly defect as far as assembling the axle component to the bearing base or to the shell. So that's what we'll try and figure out while servicing this. All right. So next, we will go over the tools needed for the job. Actually, before we go into the tools needed for servicing them, let's go over removing pedals. When we remove pedals, to remove a pedal, we always want to, for both sides, in this case I use an 8mm Allen, and we always want to go towards the back of the bike, or at least turn towards the back of the bike, right? So boom, for instance. And then we unscrew towards the back of the bike. When we thread pedals back in or install them, we always want to screw the opposite direction on both sides, towards the front of the bike. So I just took out the non-drive side. Again, with the drive side, I'm going to put the screw in, or put the hex in, and I'm going towards the back of the bike. So again, towards the rear of the bike for unscrewing pedals, and towards the front of the bike for putting pedals back in. Again, this one over here, I've never had an issue with. This one's run the way they've always run, as pedals should, or at least Raceface pedals should run. The only thing is with this one, again, the cap came out on its own, so, which is a first for me. That tells me that they didn't screw it down well when they actually assembled it at the during manufacturing. So let's go through the tools needed in order to service these pedals. Tools for the job. So for starters, you're going to need a pedal. We are going to need a 2.5mm hex in order to remove the axle bolt, a 3mm hex in order to remove the cap bolt, a 6mm hex to remove the cap, an 8mm hex to use with 2mm in order to hold on to the axle in order to remove the axle bolt. You're going to need a punch of some kind. What I find works real well is a 1/4" extension for a ratchet set. This works outstandingly well to tap out the inner bearing. You're going to need a hammer and a flathead screwdriver in order to take out the seal from the back of the pedal, or the insides of the pedal. Now, For replacing bearings, you're going to need bearing kits. Now, RaceFace sells bearing kits for both pedals that come with these two tools. So basically you get this tool over here and this tool over here in order to remove the bearings. This one's to insert the bearings. And then you get the bearings, right? Which are enduro bearings. They charge about 40, 45 bucks, if not 50 bucks a kit. Between 40 and 50 bucks a kit with shipping, basically, right? Plus shipping, I should say, sorry. And plus taxes. So these aren't anything special. This here is a wood roof key. You could find it at any hardware store, right? It's a 3/4 inch wood roof key. I bought this one over here from my local Ace Hardware for $1.29, to give you an idea, right? And what I did, I actually bought a 7/8 and grinded it down, grinded the tips down to a 3/4. This is a 3/4, the one that comes with the RaceFace kit. The problem is with this one is that they literally give you just the tips to grab onto the bearing in order to knock the bearing out. And it's a pain in the butt because a lot of times it just slips right out. It just slips out too easy as you're trying to tap it out, I find, right? Whereas this one over here, this just is, well, it has a lot more contact on the inner race of the bearing in order to be able to knock the bearing out. This works flawlessly, works, I love it. So $1.29 plus tax, as opposed to, well, let me put that one aside for now. Now, this tool is used to actually insert the bearings, right? This side here to insert the smaller bearings on the front side, and the back side over here to insert the larger bearing on the inside of the pedal shell. Well, if you go to a local hardware store, and you buy an 8mm, okay, 2-inch bolt, an 8mm fender washer, and an 8mm, an M8 basically, a metric M8 nut, you essentially created yourself the same thing, right? The fender washer is the exact same diameter. The M8 fender washer is the exact same diameter as their tool. So you literally, and this altogether, I don't know, maybe it cost $1. So you could go to the store and buy, or you go online and buy the RaceFace Atlas rebuilt kit for, like I said, between 40 and 50 bucks altogether. Or you go to your local hardware store, spend about $3 for these guys, and then you go to Fast Eddie Bearings, which for me have worked flawlessly for pedals. They deliver. I have no affiliation with these guys. I don't know them from Adam. I mean, this is not a sponsorship whatsoever. They don't sponsor anything. Like I said, I've just had real good luck with them. Essentially, what you're ordering for the RaceFace Atlas is 2 of the 6802 bearings for the inside, and then 6 of the MR106 bearings for the outside, 3 each. Altogether, this was $14 at my door, and it came here in 2 days, to give you an idea. Okay, for starters, we're going to grab our 3mm hex and take out the cap retaining bolt. And a little bit more. All right. And we're going to put that guy on the side. Right? Then we're going to take our 6mm hex, and through the hole we will take out our cap. It covers the end of the axle. So then we're going to take our 2mm and 8mm. There's a 2mm bolt in here, and basically we need the 8mm on the other side of the axle, and basically we're just going to, there we go, pop him loose. Okay. There we go. Put him on the side. Now, these guys put on the side for now. And now we can pop out our axle. Right? Relatively clean axle. We'll put him on the side. So then we have our seal. Just take a flathead screwdriver, put him underneath delicately, make sure you don't damage him, and pull it out. and he's good to go. Right now, the only thing we have left is the bearings. There's the big bearing on the inside of the shell, and there's the 3 bearings on the outside of the shell. As far as the 3 bearings on the outside of the shell, remember I was telling you about the 1/4 extender for ratchet set. Just put them in there and just give them a good tap, and they will pop out. 1, 2 little taps. 1, 2, 3 bearings. Done. And what we can do is test these bearings. Actually, you know what? I did bring one. To test the bearings, grab a pencil. These are real small. Grab a pencil, put it on, and see if you could feel vibrations. This one feels pretty clean, pretty easy, or smooth. Yep, this one feels smooth too. I don't feel any vibrations on my finger. Oh, this one feels like shit. Wow. Could you hear that? This one shot. This one is absolutely dead. I bet you he's been the problem of my clicking sounds. So basically, when I was pedaling for the last couple of months at least, on an uphill, applying torque to my non-drive side pedal, I would hear a click, click, click. It could be multiple things. I mean, a lot of times, believe it or not, it ends up being suspension, or it could be your bottom bracket bearing. But I had swapped out pedals, and it disappeared with another set of Raceface pedals, and it appeared on the other bike with this one, so it was definitely the pedal. But it is absolutely this bearing here. There's no questions asked. I could feel it in my hand. It's like literally clicking, clicking, clicking in my hand. It's like rubbing real hard. So that guy's shot. All right. So next, we want to remove, we're going to need this guy, the inner bearing. Now remember the woodruff key. Again, you can make your own. The one that you buy in the Raceface kit with the bearings and the bearing insertion tool is a 3/4 inch length woodruff key. WOODRUFF. Right? You can buy them at your local hardware store, and they're super cheap. They'll have many different size selections, and basically, again, the one they give you just doesn't give you enough meat, in my opinion, right? It slips out way too easily when tapping on it. So I made one, again, bought it from my local hardware store. It was a 7/8, and I just shaved it down to flat ends on each side with a Dremel, down to 3/4. So when you put the key in, on the pedal itself, or within the pedal, there are 2 hollow spots parallel to the pedal platform, essentially. So on each side, there's 2 hollow spots, and you want to put the key inside one of those hollow spots, right? And then put it inside the pedal to the other hollow spot, and then tilt it to the side, and it'll lie flat. And I think I'm there right now. Yep. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm sure it's flat. There you go. So that's what it looks like, right? So again, with the one that they give you, you get very little contact area, as opposed to the one that I made. You just get a lot more contact area, right? So at this point, we just grab our hammer, tap it down, and boom, out comes the bearing. So now we have a hollow shell. We put that tool on the side, right? Now we can hold this bearing. This bearing is good. No, absolutely nothing wrong with it. That was the bearing in question right here. So I have options over here. What I would do next is clean out the shell on the inside best I can, right? Use alcohol, use degreaser, take out all the old oil. What I like to do actually, oops, oh, there goes the alcohol, is basically spray it down with alcohol. I need to get a new pump on this guy. Come on, come on, come on. I know it'll work. Come on. Come on. Right, just let them sit there. And then grab a rag. Well, man, they barely put anything in here. Okay. Then grab, I always put rags down. The other one was used for something else. This makes it much easier to twist. And then insert into the hole. And try and pick it up. There we go. Now, basically, pack it in there and pull it out. And that should clean the inside real well. Okay, we are totally clean on the inside, right? Let's take out some alcohol from here. Okay, so the big question is, these 3 bearings are still working. To keep them or to just replace them? I'm probably just going to replace them. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, I like the Fast Eddies better than the Enduros for pedals. Okay, so now the other thing we need to clean is the axle, right? Clean that real well. Wow, there's actually rust on here. I don't ever remember that before. On any of my other pedals. Where's my old pedals? Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So, now this is the pedal that's been giving me the issue. And like I said, I think it has to do with how far the axle sits inside the pedal. Something tells me it's sticking a little bit too far inside the pedal. And it could very well be. It could be that the pedal isn't constructed well. It could be a manufacturing defect, right? It could be that this part here is too long. It's very hard to tell by eye, I'll tell you that much. In fact, I've taken apart an older pedal and this guy aside. And to be honest, it's really hard to figure out how. The only way I could do it is this way. Here, let me grab my caliper. Let's see if there's a difference between where the bearing. No, I can't do it. It's not flat. Actually, it is flat. Let's see if there's how much the bearing sits inside. Out of curiosity. All right, I think I figured out the problem with the pedal. So this is the problem pedal, right? The one that I bought in last year, installed this year, and it rubs on the boot. So trying to measure the distance between the outer edge of the inside of the pedal and the seat for the bearing, where the bearing sits inside, right? Using my caliper, I get, let's make sure we're even. Just make sure he's touching as much as a flat. 7.04, right? So 7.04, 7.05, that's on this side. And on this side, I get, make sure he's in the middle. Stupid camera. Getting so much more over here. I wasn't getting more before. I just measured it twice. Okay, so something's obviously amiss. Let's put them, close them up, zero them out, bring them back out. Okay. Seven 7.05. So 7.05 is basically what I'm getting for this guy. Whereas if I go to the old one, let's close them out. 6.94, let's say. Flip them over. Zero them out. All right. 6.96 or 9496. So let's try that again. Zero them out. .97. Yep. That tells me that this shell, either the face for the bearing is too deep, or the other outer shell hasn't been shaved off enough. It's too deep, which makes a lot of sense. That's what I thought originally the problem was going to be. So what I'm going to have to do to solve that problem is shave this down by 2/200ths of a millimeter, basically. Or wait a second, I said 710, bring it down. Yeah, about 1/10 of a millimeter. So it's going to require probably, my guess, the best way to do this is with a belt sander and just put them on, touch them, let them shave some off, and call it a day. Let me go do that quick. Okay, so I shaved the pedal down. Basically, I took a belt sander, put it upside down. I did my best to try and keep it even. Unfortunately, the grit paper that I had on there was way too thick. It was really hard to keep it stable. So I know for a fact that it is not even all the way across, but the outside doesn't matter as much because this bearing sits on the inside. The only thing that matters on the outside is that I have enough of a lip for the seal to stick into, which I still feel it. So I should be good. On this side, he's a little thin, actually. This side's a little thinner than that side, or it was shaved off a little bit more. So if you do this, if you have a problem with your Raceface pedals where the pedal actually rubs onto the boot of a Raceface Next carbon crank, or any boot on any crank, then from what I could tell, chances are the inner part of the shell over here is too long, based on where the bearing sits. So the axle's sitting too far in. So, or this sticks out too far onto the axle, basically. So you have to shave down like a very little bit. We're talking about like 0.1 of a millimeter, 0.2 of a millimeter max, right? So I probably did a little bit more by mistake, but what are you gonna do? So now it's a question of putting everything together, and we'll test it out. We'll see how it works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. What are you gonna do? So I got the other ones anyway. This one was barely, I mean, it was a pain in the ass to pedal all summer long. So as far as bearings, I'm not gonna swap all my bearings with the new ones yet. I'm gonna see if this bearing truly was the problem as far as the clicking. So I'm not gonna put this bearing in. I'm gonna replace it with one of my older bearings. This is from my old pedal, which is also a fast eddy bearing, as opposed to the Enduros that are stock with Raceface, right? So the first thing we do is grab our bearing, clean it up a bit, all right, and put a little bit of fresh grease on it. All right. And then we could take either the new tool, or the tool, or the Raceface tool, that just show you that this does work. We're going to put this in. Make sure he is even best you can, even though he'll fall in. There we go. And then just tap him in. And he is in. And just to test it, take this guy, just to test. Yep, same thing, didn't move. So again, tool works, right? So then, what we do is we take our small bearings and we put them in on this side, right? If you get them even as you can, it'll just go in on its own. You really don't really need the tool outside of just packing them down at the end. See what I mean? You just slip in, and this one didn't slip in as easy, but what we can do, again, just use this guy here or the other tool, doesn't matter, they work the same way, and basically just tap them in. There we go, done, and they are in, right? So we grab our axle, put a little grease on our axle, put a little grease on the outside over here, so grease on the inside. Grease is good, grease is our friend. All right, we put our axle in, right, and our axle should be flush with the bearings, and it is on the inside. I don't know if you can see that, but it's flush, right? So then we will take our axle bolt, which is the 2.5 millimeter head, put it in there, grab our 2.5 millimeter. Screw this guy down. Grab the 8 millimeter in order to tighten it down. Tighten it down real good. Make sure it's nice and tight. Done with the 8 millimeter. 50mm, grab the 6mm. I'm not going to use the green one. Since I lost the other one, I'm going to use my old black one. I don't know why they sell it with a green cap, to be honest, on the black pedal. So I'm going to put the black cap in. Screw them by hand first. There we go. And take the 6mm. Tighten his hand down, make sure he's tightened. Don't over tighten this guy because he is aluminum. So you don't want to strip him or damage him. And then we are going to grab the retaining bolt for the cap. And this is the 3mm. Make sure he's nice and tight. All right, now let's take our seal. Hopefully he sits in. Oh, dude. Oh, he sits in. Ooh, real short on one side. But sits in nonetheless. Cool. 1, 2, 3. Done. So, let's see if this guy works. I'm going to put him back on the bike and hopefully he spins free. But at a minimum, oh, I think I'm screwed with the cap, but we'll find out. Let me see if I can put him in good. But at a minimum, this is how you service a Raceface Atlas pedal. So it's real simple. Again, you could buy the kit that comes with the bearings and the tools. You really don't need them. You can save yourself a good amount of money. In fact, over time, you can save yourself a lot of money because every time you buy the bearings, the Raceface bearings, it comes with these two tools over here. Actually, these two. And it's $40 plus kit as opposed to just buying these once for about $3 max altogether. And then just buying bearings from Fast Eddie's over here and saving a lot of money there because, like I said, for both pedals it's $14 shipped to your door. Well, depending on where you live. So let me try this on the bike and we'll take it from there. All right. So we are back at the bike. We are going to install our pedal that we just shaved down the shell. So this was the problem pedal, right? So when installing, take the pedal, put it on the crank. And we want to turn towards the front of the bike, basically. So installing a pedal, we turn towards the front of the bike. That goes for both non-drive side and drive side. Uninstalling a pedal or removing it, we turn towards the rear of the bike for both drive side or non-drive side, right? So let me just tighten this down. It's down now. Let's see if it works. Look at that. Unbelievable. So basically, it's absolutely a manufacturing defect from, I could actually see that I did shave off a little bit too much on one side. It's not even. It's absolutely a manufacturing defect from Raceface. And Raceface, it's total bullshit that you guys just abandoned me like that. Again, I emailed you guys, I called you guys, I sent videos to you guys. You guys responded 4 times saying, "Oh yeah, we'll fix it. We'll get it fixed. We'll get you done. We'll get you all hooked up." And you guys completely abandoned me. I mean, never heard from you guys again. So I think it's crap considering this is your issue. This is not a user issue. No questions asked. So for anybody out there who has had a similar issue that I did, where your pedal rubs against the boot, and what's stupid is this is a Raceface crank. And I'm sure it would rub probably on all other boots, on other cranks, I should say, with boots. That's your fix right there. You have to essentially shave down the housing, the pedal housing, basically. I would take it down, let's say 0.1 millimeter max, or 0.2 millimeters absolutely max. Just bit by bit, I would take it down as even as you can, and you'll be good to go, as you just saw in this video. So also in this video, you saw how to service a Atlas fork, which is really easy. It's not hard. And again, use the tools that I mentioned. It'll save you a lot of money. And the bearings, I will put the bearings, the links to the bearings on the comment section or in the description section, so you guys could just click to it straight. Again, no affiliation. I get nothing from them. I don't know them at all. So, and they don't even know, they don't know me. So, and that'll save you some money. All right. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask anytime. Like if you like the video, subscribe, dislike twice if you dislike the video, and looking forward to the next video, which should be coming next week. I have a whole bunch of videos planned. I'm just waiting for seals of all things, fork seals, shock seals, dropper seals. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the world of seals, but it's taken forever to get these things delivered. And we should have a whole bunch of instructional videos that'll help some people out there, all right? Take care, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good one.